Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 53rd episode of Let's Talk Inclusion. I'm Manobina Chakraborty, the host of this program, and my guest today is Professor Sudesh Mukhopadhyay. Good evening, ma'am. Welcome once again to Let's Talk Inclusion. Professor Sudesh Mukhopadhyay is the best person to talk about diversity, equity, and economic empowerment, the topic of this episode. I'm sure all our viewers know about her, but as for our practice, let me briefly introduce her work. Professor Sudesh Mukhopadhyay has served as the chairperson of the Rehabilitation Council of India, RCI. She was head of the Department of Inclusive Education in NIEPA and director of the SCERT Delhi. She also served for NCERT and RG University, Arunachal Pradesh for several years. Professor Mukhopadhyay, an internationally reputed specialist in inclusive education, has experience working with multiple international and national organizations. She has authored many publications in the realm of inclusive education. She holds a PhD in education from MS University, Baroda. She is an associate of the London University Institute of Education in Special Education and is a visiting fellow at Manitoba University, Canada, and Macquarie University in Sydney, Australia. She is also involved in many policymaking committees for inclusive education in India. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, ma'am. Ma'am, the new Let's Talk Inclusion series emphasizes workplace diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it would be helpful for our viewers if you could tell us what work opportunities are available for persons with disabilities in India.
Okay, thanks. Again, diversity is a very loaded term, as is the equality, equal opportunities, and all those things. And I think today, when we are talking about the neurodiversity, also, if I just come down to the our target theme or focus for today, then neurodiversity is also now a range according to the things. Am I right? From mental health issues, mental illness to our ASDs, our other conditions, LD, dyslexia, and even some of the things which are not mentioned even in our RPWD Act. But theoretically, if you look at them, even attention deficits, OCD, all those things will also fall into this category.
Yes.
So, seeing to the your post that we are also going to have the autism week is something coming up in near future, and as I have been listening to you, many of you are concerned more about the ASD. We will concern. I will focus on that as well, but I just want to have a very larger picture which we want to give to the audience, that we have been talking about all those things, right, say 1980s in this country also. We have 1995 act, then we have now 2016 act, and now we have a NEP which fully endorses that. And because of that endorsement and also the participation of both the grassroots level workers, our NGOs, civil society, international pressure, and our own policymakers, and maybe somewhere persons like me who fall into that continuum somewhere. Uh, there are few notifications which have recently been shared, which I wanted to share with you all, because it has got implications for number one, what type of work opportunity we should look at for the persons with the say neurodiversities in specific, as well as what already is being done in the ground level. But at times, India being India and we being at different places, even person like me, whenever you ask me to talk about such thing, I again go back searching for literature, evidences before I substantiate between whatsoever I am going to say. So let me start saying about a document which has come in 2021, somewhere in June, July. Now it's already 2 years if you really look at that. Am I right? This
Yes.
document is so heavy as compared to what was there in 2013 that even I'm having problem in getting a full picture of that. So I thought I will just share a few summary points with you all, which are very important from two angles. Number one is it is runs into about 2,500 pages, because about 1,200, 1,300 pages are in Hindi and rest of are in English. And this document itself says if there is any controversy arising from the translation in Hindi from English, then English translation will override it. Why I am
Yes.
mentioning this thing to you all is, please remember NEP and other forums and again stress that disability is a state subject. So what does it mean? That though there is this particular document which lists about, I try to find it out, even the thing, it is about 23 to 25 areas in which jobs have been listed. And if you put them all together, you will have more than 2,000 plus jobs. But the beauty of this notification, why I am drawing your attention to this, is it has got the top level position, which in the government sector we call category A post, to the D post, which are the lowest categories. Okay. Now, again, what we need to see it, he already DOPT, that is the central government agency which guides, it has already issued notifications in tune with that. Another major thing has happened, in the light of which again we need to look at this particular document and also the points which is making to us. For example, if I just read out a few, it's very difficult for me to remember it, but if I just read it, they
Sure.
say, number one, note one, persons with benchmark disabilities require aids and assistive devices to overcome their difficulties. Now, here they have used the word benchmark, but in recent Supreme Court judgment, they say if someone has less than 40% disability and if he needs an accommodation, then RPW acts that reasonable accommodation has to be interpreted in the favor of this person, because that chapter is delinked from the benchmark disability. So it opens a new type of thing if we put all those things on that spectrum. And then again, it says that this post is only indicative and not the full-fledged list by itself. And if any autonomous body, a state government body, any other sector comes up, some other this, so like that, the notes, footnotes, before they give the post itself, it runs about into 9 or 10 points. But every point, each of us need to look at this, to look at that window of opportunity which is there. But yes, while I am praising all those things, but coming to AST and the nature of the post, I found that in the set top positions, accounting, everyone, some of the top positions are open for our what we call the SLDs, our learning difficulty persons, because they also make a form in their our that larger group. And then
Mm.
also the multiple disability, because there can be many conditions, so we really do not know which of our neurodiversity person will fit into that. For example, ADHD, they are
Yes.
brilliant people and all, but they may have a condition, so they can get a benefit under the MD, and those notes give that position to us. So many of those positions are there, but when we come to the AST in specific, then we have to move down the positions and come. But then you will be surprised, even in aeronautics they are talking about some of these conditions.
Okay.
So if I just give you just idea to give the type of job opportunities which may be available now, it
Mm.
starts with the as I say, accounting, administration, aeronautics, technology, and then there are also law and judiciary, then there are also packaging, postal, printing, security, sports, textile, stores, tourism, hospitality. So you can imagine any field. So what I say is, this notification is not limited like 1995 onwards. The notifications were there which were limiting us to a few areas. It has opened up, and that is what our field experience is. Am I right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I will really request the audience, both whether they are parents, whether they are running organizations, whether they are employers, whether they are teachers, please do spend your time to look at these things, because it is directly related to what type of academic courses do we encourage our AST persons to go for that, because AST is again a continuum. We may have persons who we have high support needs, and we may have persons where only their social aspect is a challenge, noise
Yes.
management is a challenge. So for that reason, again I will request the audience, and I can send all this material to you through email, Monobina, and you can
Yeah.
share it with these people. That is the notification by the SBI, because I was searching for one notification which will give us. Remember in the last previous session when we were having last Friday
Yeah.
or somewhere, when I
Mm.
just attended part of it, they were talking about so many things, that what will happen, how it will happen, and then I came across this SBI's notification, which is quite recent under the equal opportunity thing. I found it out, and they are talking about right from first they endorse the act itself, this document. Then it talks about accessibility, it talks about recruitment, it talks about even manner of selection, posting and transfer. There are very clear guidelines, and of course someone is writing ki, yes, government has signed that pact with the Amazon and all those things. I went to that skill wala thing also, PMY and all those things,
Yes.
but they are still updating. Post policy, they have not still updated that particular thing. I have seen that DPW that thing, but the detailed information, as I said, is it actually being implemented? I have got a big question mark, because I went to the website, and there that PMY and other things it is written, this is still in process. So we really do not know what has happened, because Flipkart and Amazon are already laying down the people. Means there are issues going on because of this recession going on. So I really can't answer what is going on. But that is why I picked up the State Bank of India's thing, because being a government agency, it is also guided by the DOPT and other larger things. But
Yeah.
why I was saying is that if you look at that, you will also see that even after that person has joined, and if he needs some accommodations, they are bound to give it because of this public notification. So according to me, now, the as far as the opportunities are concerned, and as I already mentioned to you, that normally India is rated on many things towards the lower side. But on one thing, which is India is internationally under the UN agencies ranked as number two, is the real time data and laws,
Yeah.
inclusive laws.
May I ask something? I was reading in a newspaper, it came around July 21, that
Hmm.
according to market intelligence firm uh, under, sorry, Unearth Insight. Yeah, I just forgot the name. Unearth Insight. India has almost 3 crore people with disability, of which around 1.3 crore is employable, but only 34 lakhs of them have been employed across the organized sector,
Yeah,
like unorganized sector,
that
government
is
led
the
schemes,
concern.
or they
That,
are self employed.
that is the
So,
concern.
yeah, so then what are the parameters of empowerment, ma'am, in different for different benchmark disabilities? I think you were talking about that. So, how, like, like maybe I'm not I'm failing to frame the question here. So as
Uh,
per this record, what should we say? Like how should
see,
we empower our persons with diversity or disability? What you can say?
recently I was there at one of the NAB functions at Bombay in January
Yes.
this year also. I was also, they considered that I have been working in this area, so whatsoever. But I met a very young person. He was
Yes, ma'am.
32 years old,
Mm-hmm.
blind, and
Mm-hmm.
in India, he was not even able to get the science subjects. Okay. Even now,
Yeah.
I'm mentoring few students for NCP, that organization. One of my blind, the student, the person whom I'm mentoring is doing BTech and he's blind. He became blind at the in sixth or seventh standard, went to a special school that did not give him science, so he came to inclusion. Today he's doing BTech, and
Okay.
you will be surprised. He's so good in using technology that already Microsoft has offered him a job,
So
and they want
nice.
and all this stuff. But similar
Okay.
young man I met in Bombay, he's 32-year-old. He runs a 100 crore company near Hyderabad. And you know what was the message he gave to the audience? Jobs are waiting. Now you have to come to the jobs. That was his message to all the persons sitting in this particular room. You know why? He said most of the employment opportunities are coming in rural areas, and because you need land for factories and all those things. So some of this infrastructure issue of accessibility, maybe their physical accessibility and all, but it's not the
Mm-hmm.
job opportunities are not there, but people are not reaching out to jobs. She said jobs will not reach to the people. People will have to reach the jobs. And he says
Mm-hmm.
anyone who needs a job, please meet me. And he's a very quick famous person. He's quite comfort. If you know, I will tell you his or her name also. And then I met another lady also who is working in the banking sector,
Okay.
and again the same issue. And she says I am doing, and she's quite at a senior position and working on this thing. So but what is the image building we are doing? That is where my the whole, what is the question you are asking me is, question is, as a sector, what are we telling people about ASD? Let's talk about only ASD for the time being.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
What are we talking? It is same thing which mental retardation happened at one point of time. The way we always said they have low mental, their mental age is less, that they cannot do this, they cannot do this. So anytime, even today, if you use the word MR or intellectual disability, people imagine a person who cannot do anything. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah.
But when even I am invited to some of the forums where I am representing learning in disabled persons, and then someone is doing something, and then I see a topic called gifted, and I say I want to talk about gifted also. He said, "नहीं मैडम वो सब disabled है." I said, तुमको किसने बोला कि disability में giftedness नहीं है? And ultimately you have to fight. But why all this is happening? Because we are using psychometry tests which try to put up in that bell-shaped curve, and a battery of tests does not define a person. So when we
Very.
are talking about enabling, I think first thing we need to talk about is what our child can do, what our young person can do. And I have experimented this in my own course when I was in charge of admissions at NIEPA. When this girl with hearing impairment joined the course, my organization never had any experience of having any person with disability in that. So there was a pin drop silence in the room. I kept quiet. I didn't say anything. She entered and she says, I got tumors in my ears, so now I cannot hear. So I can talk, but I cannot hear. So please ask questions. So everyone gave her a questions, and she excelled so much that I didn't have to speak. But when it came to having her as a student, I didn't conducted any training, nothing. I just issued a letter to the faculty. These are the strength of this girl. She can do this thing in the class. I will be making this arrangement for her. She will have a peer who will be noting down the things for her and showing what you are speaking. For your PPTs, you do this thing, this, and you will be surprised today. She is a senior executive in the RBI and happily settled. And when she came to us, her father used to travel all the way from Meerut to Delhi to bring her because he thought she cannot handle traffic and all. And then we taught her how to stay with us. So this is where I am saying, from that angle, that autism spectrum, we have got very gifted people. We need to talk about now, whenever we talk about jobs, we start from that point, what they can do much better than others. And that is why I have also searched out an article for you all people to talk about what are the, how they have a, I will say, they can put other persons at disadvantage. We need to work out on those type of things now and say, uh, someone is asking a question in between. I don't
Yeah,
know. You want
maybe
to.
we will take the questions later on, ma'am. Please
So,
carry on. We'll take
so
the
what
questions
I'm
later.
trying to say it, please, we will have people on the spectrum. There will be some persons who will need a lot of hand holding, who will have a different type. But now, for example, I meet a young girl and I don't know that family. I just on the walk, I will meet the mother and a grown-up daughter, and she will always have her one ear like this, and that will affect her physical gesture also. So one day I just asked her mother. She says, "No, वो उसको ना noise से बहुत तकलीफ होती है, इसलिए वो इसे कान में उंगली डाल के चलती है and all." So I told her कि नहीं, मैं डॉक्टर्स के पास गई, ये गई, वो गई, and all those. But when I talked to that girl, she didn't look at me, but she did talk to me. Okay. Now, if you look at from the employment point of view, if this person has to go for a job, maybe if we have such headphones for her which can minimize the noise, then she will be as comfortable as others. And
Yes.
there are many jobs I have seen in Hyderabad. All the many deaf people, they have been trained now to face the interviews, do the things, and the employers have been told. And when the digitization of Hollywood films and Indian films are being done, you will be surprised, 90% persons are with hearing impairment and they prefer them. Just as Microsoft will like to go for very brilliant autistic persons because they have greater concentration, they are doing much better jobs, and even Down syndrome persons are being employed at many places just because of their positive way of looking at things. These
Yes.
children are very happy. If you look at the Down syndrome child, he's a very happy person.
Yeah.
But he
Very
will do
happy, but hopeful.
whatever tell. So it is a question of, I think we are reaching now that stage, Manobina, where we need to work with our kids. Number one, for all types of the spectrum, the jobs which are available, and give them that confidence you can do that. Yes, it's not an easy thing. I know it's very easy for me to talk, but to do, but not restrict their life to some of the selected things which we may be doing in the name of vocational rehabilitation. That is my
Very,
point which I am trying to
very
make.
nice.
And secondly, in the higher education institutions also now EOC, equal opportunity cells are there, where there are full-time coordinators. As a adult, we respect the dignity of a adult student, and we need not point out कि ये autism वाला है, ये SLD है, ये है, ये. No, we need not say, but we should train our students to go and take someone in confidence and share with them कि if this help is given, I can do better. And I think as a professional teachers, we must learn to maintain the dignity of other rather than pinpointing a student. There are ways in which you can serve a diversity even in a teaching situation as well as in a job situation. You need
Yes.
not disclose. And these type of examples are now available in plenty. To, as I said, I have done for this one, did a lot of research to find out all these examples. I have put the references together. I will share, and we can do that. And we maybe as a part of our advocacy, if we can start putting up if you are going to advertise for the persons with disability, then please do this thing. Your language should be simple, it should be clear cut,
Yes,
it should not be complicated. And if you are going to do interview, then please don't call, if the child person has got this type of condition, you may please give him an individual interview or something. Don't have. And now even in CBSE and all, when they are ready to accept, even a family member or a known person can be there when this person is appearing for examinations. So what is the problem if this person is given that type of familiar thing even when we are going for the job interviews?
yes.
And
We
job
need to
interviews are not
sensitize
difficult. Yeah,
organization. That
yeah.
is the very most important thing.
And again I am saying is from the experience which I've got with this blind person who is offered by the job by the Microsoft. They offered him an internship and he says, madam, I am going to go to Hyderabad because I need to find out what type of facilities they will offer and what type of setup is that. Am I right? So
Yes,
now things are changing, but the only thing is, because at times when we are working in the day to day situation with persons, sometimes uh, every one of us may not have the type of time that, for example, the type of work I do a lot of explorations of this nature whenever a thing is come. But then maybe we all persons who are trying to serve the sector, whether we are parent, whether we are a teacher, whatsoever we may be, therapist, anything, I think we need to keep ourselves updated. We may not be able to give the direct service to either the parent or the person, but even if we can point in the right direction, I think the things will open. And even did you people also saw this job mela thing, why the what is that organization called, the HFDC, National Handicap Finance and Development Organization Corporation? They give the loans also and other things also for all persons with
yes.
disabilities,
Yeah,
and
we
they
know
also
that.
do the
We
job
know that.
fairs
We know
in
that, but I
Delhi.
have not there.
Yeah, in Delhi, because when I was searching for that PMY thing and all, which you were initially asking me to do, then I
Yeah.
found there that this organization, as an RCI person, I was involved with them also, and I've seen some of their work. But I saw that they also help the people with loans and all those type of things. So someone really put a question here, so I thought I will put that thing also. So I think maybe I have been able to communicate some points, Manobina.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And let us just take these questions. I think all these questions
Hmm.
are answered already. What are the provisions for the employment of
Yeah,
PWDs in private and public sectors, respectively? And
I will
another,
share the links. Hmm.
yes, would you like to address
Loan.
this once? Okay.
No,
So now,
means she has asked, na, are there provisions of loans for the employment period? Yes, it is available now. No? That's what I'm saying. Ki earlier also, I don't know, some of these people were also, see again, these questions when they are addressed in reality, because sometimes long back somewhere I came across a क्वेरी, बायोमेट्रिक नहीं होता है तो आधार कार्ड नहीं होता, आधार कार्ड नहीं होता तो सर्टिफिकेट नहीं होता. And then we all found that some organization in Dehradun has already fought it out, and there is a new Aadhaar card issuing notification now, where biometrics, if someone cannot do, even then the Aadhaar card can be issued and disability certificate should not be a challenge. Similarly, the question of loans which she is asking, again, they are available, but then we will have to find out for which purpose we are asking and whatsoever the loan giving. But this NHFDC organization which I'm talking about, I have seen when I was a member of that as a RCA chairperson, I have seen that they have the provisions for funding of different type of things. So answer is yes, but we need to explore because things again go on changing. Na? Every 2 years, 3 years, things do change. But there is provision.
ma'am, I was pursuing a course on DEI in the workplace, diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. And while doing that course, I came across a few literature and reports and all. And I came to know that in the last few years, words such as inclusion and diversity have assumed importance in the vocabulary of most organizations, as you said, and it has its reason for this. And a 2019 McKinsey study revealed that companies with gender diversity were 25% more likely to have above average profitability, while those with ethnic diversity outrival their competitors by 36%. Now, another report titled India's Best Workplace in Diversity, Equity and Inclusion 2021 states
Hmm.
that diverse teams perform better, boost leadership, integrity, heighten trust in organizations' management, and multiply revenue growth. So it is no wonder that organizations are building a more inclusive workforce by hiring employees from different ethnic groups across gender and social backgrounds. Yet, lacking in this exercise is, to some extent, I must say, is neurodiversity. But as you
Yeah,
said, it
that
is
is
very,
what I told you about this our latest notification also. The
yeah,
ministries, and that is what I draw your attention to that, and that is why I'm
yes,
pleading again and again. Please, we must move from the deficit model to the potential model. Remember,
exactly.
when we started on inclusion, we always used to say कि person is a wheelchair. Earlier, what we used to say, the one who is pushing the wheelchair, we will ask him, ये बात ये कर सकता है, इसका नाम क्या है? And now we slowly learn, you know, you can directly talk to the person. He may be in the wheelchair, but he can speak. Am I right?
Yes,
Same thing
yes.
we will
Maybe,
have to do for other persons also. Ki yes, there is a range of abilities and challenges in every human being. So let us highlight the best points of our person rather than telling what he or she cannot do. Am I right? For
exactly.
all
Now,
practical
nowadays
purposes.
we have stopped saying wheelchair bound. We say wheelchair users, right? So it's a
That's it.
change
So
in perspective, and
that
it is
is what I
necessary.
say कि
Yes.
मनोबिना हम जो बोलते हैं वो
Ji.
कहीं पे जो हमारी भाषा है it also reflects what we are thinking. Now example, for example,
Exactly.
I'm sitting in front of you. Okay, I'm just going to be 77 in say few days or something like that. And if I give you a theoretical case study of myself, then I should not be there at all because old people are not supposed to do all those things. Am I right? They should be 100% dependent. They should not have आवाज कांपनी चाहिए फलाना. This is the perceptions which we have made. So first
Yes.
thing which we need to do is change the perceptions of people.
Yeah.
And what you are saying about diversity being accepted, yes, because today we talk about look at the hand, five fingers
Exactly.
different. This is not how you make address a diversity. Diversity is when it is a natural part of this, and then only our strength comes, isn't it? That is what
Yes.
now these organizations are trying, and that is where one of the CEOs have written this thing. He knows that one of his employee has got these issues, whether he should disclose. Because remember, other day Kavita ji or someone has asked about the disclosure last
Yeah.
session.
That was asking.
So
Yeah.
this is
Disclosure.
where it becomes important, and that's why I brought that particular point. Ki when our person becomes adult, and I'm telling you this again. I have a child 10 years back when I moved to this particular society. He will meet in the this thing, and first thing say, "मेरा नाम ये है, आपका नाम क्या है?" That used to be his communication. Okay, now he has grown up in age, and other day I met his mother was also there with him, and then I was talking to him, आपका नाम क्या है? So he was looking somewhere else, but he was answering my question. Then I asked, अच्छा इतना बड़ा नाम नहीं मैं ले सकती, तुम्हारा घर का नाम क्या है? So he told me the name. I said, can I call you by this name? He was still looking somewhere else, but he said yes. Then he met me in the puja days, and you know what he asked me? He remembered me. he's still not looking at me. Everyone is saying कि what is this child? And he asked me, आपके बच्चे हैं? I said yes. उनका क्या नाम है? I said, आप उनको घर में क्या? Same questions which I have asked him.
घर में क्या बुलाते हैं?
घर में क्या बुलाते हैं क्या? So see, now I am seeing this boy, and you know what, he is very good in music, he is very good in cooking, but he had a problem with the school. It's one of the very highly paid public school. The mother rings me up and says, अब वो कक्षा 8 में आ गया है मैम, and the school says move him to some other place. I said they have no right, and I told him कि these are the provision under RT Act. These are the things they are need. I say you fight it out. They can't move because for him it will be a challenge. So yes, things are not perfect at the ground level, but again, until unless we know what is there available and make a noise for it, we are not going to get it.
Yes, ma'am. Don't you think, ma'am, the schools should have an integrated setup? I can understand that it might be difficult to accommodate some children in a mainstream classroom where a teacher has the load of completing the syllabus and 40 odd children are there. So if there is an integrated setup in the same school, the child will
Yeah,
get
yes, it's a matter
inclusive
of choice.
environment at
But
least.
again, Manobina, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan always had that setup.
Yeah.
1984-85. Recently, they are facing a court case with the Commissioner of Disability, because when the inclusion thing came, they took up all these special educators from these special sections and put them in the there. So these children never had anyone to attend to. So ultimately, Mr. Dharyal was the commissioner for Delhi, and then he intervened, and Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan like institute also has to come. So there are also some things which are going on, the profit making attitude and the government regulations. So as I'm saying, things are never going to be 100% for any one of us, for example, but making efforts. So someone just now wrote the ONGC also has a reservation for PWD. It is there everywhere. But the question is, our children, our young person on the ASD spectrum, where they will do better, those type of jobs we need to prepare them for. That is where this readiness program is very, very important.
Yeah, the preparatory programs for
हाँ,
transition.
from
Yeah.
making them move from the say childhood to young age and young age to the adulthood. That I
Yes.
call is usually the school transition period. No, that
Yeah.
is where you go. So now, if you look at the NEP again, I will come back not as a government spokesperson, but I'm seeing the windows of opportunity. They say you can have a choice in choice subjects है हमारे पास में, ठीक है? So you can go
जी.
for practical. Earlier only NIOS used to offer those type of things. Now it should be available slowly in other schools also. Then you can have internships. Now, if you say internship, I use even as a special school or someone where I send my say child with on an autism spectrum, whosoever can adjust to a restaurant or a workplace, or I take him somewhere, give him an excursion, slowly exposed to what are the work situation, find out his or her strengths, and then accordingly do help what I call the transition planning. Because about transition planning, Manobina, if you remember, I was also working for women with disability issues recently.
Yes.
And there I found that even in USA it is a problem. They don't plan for the transition for girls, especially. So
Okay.
you can imagine what is happened with our women with disability. The second challenge I find was the digital exclusion. While it is a fact, our children with disabilities during pandemic, they were quick to adopt to the technological interventions as compared to many other children.
Yeah, very true.
So this is what I'm saying. Ki these are the strengths of our persons which we need to highlight rather
Yes,
than
ma'am.
टॉकिंग अबाउट कि उसका सोशल कांटेक्ट नहीं होगा, वो आपकी तरफ देख के बात नहीं करेगा, या those things will happen with many of us so called normal persons also.
Yes, ma'am.
So I
And
will
ma'am,
not
you're talking.
really Hmm.
Yeah, ma'am,
What?
please carry on.
नहीं,
What I
so
was talking about women with disabilities.
hmm,
So I think that they might be more disadvantaged because women's work is seen as secondary to that of men in our society. And in most communities, a woman's role is to be a wife, mother, and homemaker. And it's Women's Day around the corner. And I really hate to get all those messages that you are up to Bhagwan hai, you are this and that, mother and this and that. I'm a human being after all. I don't want to be like a goddess or something like that. So, like in our society, men are the primary decision maker and bread earner. So women are not. So maybe there are they are more disadvantaged. The WWDs are more disadvantaged.
yeah,
What are your experiences
um,
in this
no,
regard,
no.
ma'am?
Matlab, today is not the time and forum where I can go. But yes, I found out one of the challenge was the economic empowerment, poverty, and self-esteem. All the three things interact. And now,
Mm.
I think other day only I read, I think on GP is the global something is there, which go, I see some of those newsletters, and now there are publications available on the impact of the migration. And you know what has come? Ki when migration may first the women has to leave along with men to serve them
Yeah,
when they go out. That is one type of thing. And other time was women were at home and men were out, so women have a different role. So now they have said कि while some women says कि आदमियों के वापस आने से हमारा काम बढ़ गया है, जिम्मेवारियां बढ़ गई हैं, ज्यादा खाना वाना बनाना पड़ता है, because women work is seized as the unpaid thing. Am I right? And
exactly. Yes.
same thing happened with our women with disabilities, because they get less job opportunities as compared to the men. But again, it comes to the same thing. Oh, how much? The second thing which I came was inclusive laws, because when we go for say court cases hote hain, there is no time today, but if you somewhere time alag we can talk about. Sometimes we see a woman from one angle of the law, whether it's foxo or whether it is harassment or rape or something. They don't see that person in the totality. That is
Exactly.
another fragmentation is which is creating a problem. And then a woman, again, in the caste, the color, the religion, the ability, disability, their whatsoever laws will be there. So when you see, you're not seeing it as a whole person, and this is also impacted when women with disabilities have to face the rules and regulation. And surprisingly, the digital exclusion, which has come emerged as one of the major factors during this thing. People made things available for the boys, but not for the girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
And health, you will be surprised the most. The most complaints are about the health workers, how they deal with the women with disabilities. Our health sector is not ready even to serve the persons with disabilities, and within that, the women disabilities. And of course, I have already talked about the transaction to adulthood. If the girls are not being prepared for transition from say young life to adults and mature and all those type of things, you can happen, how pathetic it is still going to be for the women with disability, who will think that their daughter can also become an IS officer even if I am from a poor family. That is the type of image. And again, emergencies and conflicts, I think our country has done a greater job on this issue when it came to the Kerala floods and all. They have the things in place where every disabled person is counted, including women and kids. But in generic, whenever all these things come, worst affected are our women and girls with disabilities, all types of things which are happening there. So it's a very larger issue on which, but then there are also very good opportunities. For example, the urban series, you people must have heard about it, Rena, Bombay, the urban cafe and all those things.
Yes, yes.
So now these type of things also are coming up, But then again, these are the things which are done by the parents, the mother.
Yeah.
So I also have started asking another question on the women was whether our sector is also looking at the mother's role in the persons of with disabilities. Please, there is one person called Girja Lal. She has written a PhD thesis on the mothers of the autistic children. And this thesis I have read, I don't know how many times, because I don't know from where she got my name and all. She sent me the thesis, and also when she was appearing for Viva, it was on the public domain, because she has submitted it to some university in Amsterdam and all. But it was an eye opener that not only we are talking about women as a general group, but when in a family a child with disability is born, and especially our on the ASD spectrum, what all these mothers have to do, because some of these things come. So I think when we are going to deal next time your ASD things, we need to take a comprehensive picture of a what we call the life cycle approach. We should go from that, because all those things start building up when child is still in the family. Am I right? All
Yes, ma'am.
ASDs may not be, people may not be able to understand the initial symptoms. That
Yes.
is what is the biggest loss for both the child as well as for the family.
Parents,
And
very
second
much.
thing is, when they grow up, then we should have role model for them to see, yes, you can be this, rather than always saying we cannot do this. That is
I
what
have
I think.
collaborators in SWAN, that's Scottish
Hmm.
Women's Autism Network. So
Hmm.
they have managed to have reservations in all the employment sectors in Scotland,
Hmm.
and they're doing a very good job. That autistic women and
Yeah.
maybe in the same family, mother and child, mother and daughter, both are diagnosed as autistic. Maybe mother have got the diagnosis at the age of 50.
Hmm.
It's also possible. So I sometimes I interact with them, and they came to this forum a couple of times as well. So they are doing a good thing. I think we can
Yeah.
also think about similar things here in India, right? For women on the autistic spectrum, maybe because we have. I personally, I have students very
Huh.
sincere, very studious, very intelligent students, we may say, on the autistic spectrum with other
Bilkul.
challenges. So
Hmm.
we need to like
No.
a roadmap should be given to them, or maybe some parents, mother and child both can uh, like mothers may form an organization, and they can do they can, and we as
Yeah.
professionals also join in.
Yeah.
And it's a
Actually,
very
it also
yes, ma'am.
reminds me to say one more thing about that notification. It also has a column number one, the post, what is required in what one is expected to do in that post. Then, which are the
Yeah,
categories of disability which are eligible for that, and then it also says what the organization should also ensure.
exactly. I have seen it's you sent me the
Yeah.
document. ASD,
Yes.
the areas I have seen, and how organizations should accommodate. That is also given.
And yeah, and in that, again and again, if you would have noticed it, they also go on insisting if he needs any assisted devices or something, that also should be mentioned.
Provided.
And
Yeah.
that has got implication when we negotiate with the employers, or when we are having advocacy programs with the different thing. We should also tell them ki what type of things are a person with autism, because people will not have they won't understand what does assisted devices will mean for X category of persons, or B or C or D. It's a very generic term. Am I right?
Yes.
For,
Yes.
for example, headphones we all know, But noise restriction wala headphones, what does it mean? Many of us, we don't use, so we will not be even aware of that. And similarly, the place where he or she works. So, for example, if one can goes for the textile also have a designing component in that. And if our person is doing the designing, so there are places where he needs to have a social interaction, there are places where he need not have a social interaction. So what I liked about these guidelines, they may not be perfect, the government order, but at least it captures all these type of requirements which can help
Yes.
us to work in our own organization when we are preparing them for the adulthood. Because when we start simulating that thing, take the person to other situations, give him or her an exposure, I'm sure that they will have a greater success rate. And everywhere see, and that also reminds me that we also need to be very careful about, for example, I know one person on the LD. She's an architecture course. She has done many online diplomas, this and that, and she's very good in designing and all. But she decided to have a formal degree. So she enrolled in one of the universities in Delhi. Now, institute did not know how to cope up with her, and so they called me. I tried to explain to them, okay, you are having the final output of the assignment, which is at the top level. Why are you bothered about how she has reached that point? Because many of our persons, they can tell you the end result, but they cannot describe the process. They
Very
did not
true.
react it to that, and today the case is going on in the high court. Can you imagine? Same thing has happened in IIT Delhi. They gave admission to one of the person with disability, but did not give him the accommodation. And ultimately, he went to the court, and IIT Delhi was standing in the court for that reason. And that is where, after some of these incidences, this Supreme Court judgment has come that our chapter on reasonable accommodation is delinked from the benchmark disabilities. Anyone even less than 40% disability, if he or she needs accommodation to perform to the his or her potential, we are bound to give. This is, I think, again a very landmark judgment. And same thing has happened also in the Punjab and Haryana High Court. You can't evaluate a person in which he has not been taught. So it has got implications both before they enter the job markets or their workplaces, but also what we are doing, because sometimes we may ourselves may be a stumbling block that we are not giving them those opportunities to succeed in the sectors outside the our, whether it is inclusive school, special school, it does not matter, the
Yeah.
choices. And that is what your answer now towards the end I'm giving about the empowerment is. It is enabling our persons to make their choices and know what they want, and we must learn to listen to them. That is, for me, is the empowerment. When they will tell me I need this, and I say, of course, I am there to serve you, and we will try to do it.
Yeah, they
That is the
also yeah, we also need to develop this thing in them that they must ask for help when it
yeah.
is required. Generally, I know the young persons with ASD, they try to mask their
Hmm.
difficulties, so they never ask for help.
Yeah.
Maybe if I need help, I will ask for help, but they will not. So this is our
Definitely.
duty as teachers. So it's my duty, I think, to inculcate in these things to them
Yeah.
that
So that's what I'm
it
saying.
is okay to ask for
Yeah.
help.
Seeking help is not a sign of weakness.
Exactly,
It's not a deficiency.
very much so.
Am I
So,
right?
ma'am, after
We all,
listening
we
to
all.
you, after listening to you today, I really have every reason to be optimistic, and I'm
Uh,
sure our viewers also they are also feeling the same. So it's nearly time. So before we conclude, ma'am, any concluding advice for us, the
no, I just,
practitioners as well as the parents of differently abled children and young people?
I always feel that we are all as a team. and even children and parents and families and community and all of you. And we must learn to listen to each other, maintain each other's dignity. Opportunities are many, windows of opportunity, but yes, tapping them is a tough task because too many things. So maybe we can share more with each other. I learn from you, you learn some, I can share with you something. And these are the great things. But yes, we have to have full trust in our children, in ourselves, in the system, because not trusting doesn't take us anywhere. Trust will build up those bridges that we will find out those windows of opportunity, knock at them, and they will open for us. I'm sure there may not be 100% things, but I am seeing a lot of light as compared to
Yes.
when I started working in this sector. So I am
Yes.
happy.
Instead of
Mm.
blaming one another, we must work as a team. That's,
Yeah,
I think, in a
yeah. We
nutshell,
all
I can
have
say.
to learn from each other. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time and support. It was your third time here in I for Inclusion. Let's talk inclusion, and we look forward to having you again very soon. And
Sure.
thank you very much, ma'am, for all your support. And many
Sure.
thanks to our viewers as well. Your enthusiastic participation has given us food for thought. See you soon on the 54th episode of Let's Talk Inclusion. Please keep an eye on our Facebook page for our next announcement. Till then, take care and
Thank
goodbye.
you very much, everyone. I could not see anyone, but anyway, I will see tomorrow on the Facebook. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you
Good
very
night,
much, ma'am.
everyone.
Okay.
Take rest. See you again sometimes. Bye.
Good night.